Descriptive outlines are a key part of the work that we'll be doing throughout the year in college writing. They represent a tool that you can use to facilitate what is your one of your major transformations from this course. Essentially, you want to move from someone who reads just as a reader, that is to say, someone who pays attention to content and symbolism and meaning and what is a piece about, to someone who also reads as a writer, that is to say, somebody who pays attention to form and is looking out for the strategies that writers use in order to achieve the purpose of their piece. So I wanted to make this little video because you guys are going to be doing these for short assignment number 2 of writing sequence number 1 and also throughout the course of the semester. So this is a handout that you've gotten and that you will probably get again, and it breaks out how to make a descriptive outline into 4 key steps. First thing, and this is with any piece of writing, read the piece all the way through. Second thing is to always be sure to identify the writer's purpose. What are they hoping to accomplish through what they're doing, right? What do they want the writing to do in the world? And then step 3, you're going to divide you're going to make for each paragraph says and does statements. So as a first step, you number every paragraph in a piece of writing, and then you're going to go through it and say, here is what the paragraph says. Here's a quick summary of what it's about. That's a pretty familiar process for us. We've been doing it for a long time. But then in another column, you're going to say what the paragraph does. How does the writer accomplish this? What strategies do they use in order to effectively give the message? And then once you do that, and this is something we'll work up to, you take the bird's eye view. If you have a descriptive outline for an entire piece of writing, then you're able to evaluate it in a different way. Over here, this is pretty important. This is a list of common strategies of things that writers do in order to achieve their purpose. It's certainly not a comprehensive list, but it can be helpful to have handy whenever you are writing one of these descriptive outlines. We don't need to sort of be geniuses who can memorize every writing strategy under the sun. So what we're going to do is we're going to just look at the introductory paragraph from What a Nun Taught Me About Feminism. What a Nun Taught Me About Feminism. At 9:47 a.m. on August 27, 2015, the door to a new world of literacy was cracked open. It was the first day of my senior year in high school. I strolled into room 36 that morning, sporting my senior blue tie-dye and a smile that was far too big for my face. It was time for the Bayview Academy students to start their Period B class. No other girl in Mercy Hall would be as happy as I was during those 90 minutes in our academic schedules. This was not just any class. This was Honors Literary Analysis with Sister Carol. So the first thing I'm going to do, time. So now we're going to go back to the paragraph with the things writers do list right in front of us, and we're going to try and identify the strategies that Bowman is using in order to. Remember, I always keep the list in front of me. I don't memorize this stuff. So what is she doing? She's telling a story, right? We know from point A to point B, hey, I entered a room. She's describing, she's using vivid details to help add texture to that act of entering the room. We know that she's in her blue tie-dye. We know she strolled into the room. That's very different than I ran into the room or I slunk into the room, right? And we have the smile that was far too big for my face. So without her saying I was really excited to be here, we have a sense that this is an enthusiastic student. And the last thing that she's doing is projecting the future, right? She's telling us, hey, this is not just any other class. This was Honors Literary Analysis with Sister Carol. So we go back and then go through the process of writing the says statements for it and the does statements for it. I'm going to summarize what the paragraph says, right? And it's about entering honors English for the first time, right? And I could get more specific. I could say about the narrator entering honors English for the first time, right? Not too hard. We've been summarizing for a while. Tell us about entering honors English for the first time. To our list, and we just write down describes, tells a story, projects the future. Having done that, we can then say, well, if the purpose of this piece, and I'm just going to say this paragraph is to let the reader know that this was a really transformative moment in her life, and that to set up the stage for this class in which the transformation was going to happen, then using description to give us a sense of who she was, to tell the story, and then to project the future. This was going to be a really significant moment in the last sentence of a first paragraph, is a really effective strategy, because we have a question. Why are you going to enjoy this class so much? How are you changed? So we've written the descriptive outline, and then the next question that you should start to think about is, how can this help me, right? As a writer, when you're reading as a writer, you're reading to see how the writing works so that you can put things in your own toolkit. So you maybe are starting to write a narrative essay in a few days or a week or so. How can this help me? Well, maybe you can borrow some of these strategies for your introduction. Maybe you really liked describing, so maybe you would just start your introduction describing. Maybe you like the way that projecting the future set up a sense of anticipation for the piece, and you want to do that. So even though when you go to write your own narrative essay, you'll have a blank canvas in front of you, you might say, hey, I really appreciated the way that Bowman projected the future. What would that look like for my own story? And so that's how we're going to be using them for this first writing sequence. Your homework for short assignment number 2 is going to be to write a descriptive outline of either the Sherman Alexie piece, Indian Education, or the Malcolm X piece, and then say, how can I use these strategies in my own narrative essay? We'll revisit this throughout the semester, and if you have any questions, definitely just let me know.